Look at chapter number 2. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell I cried I, and thou heardest my voice. For thou hadst cast me into the deep in the midst of the seas. He says it wasn't the ship people that tossed me over, although they did. But he realized it was God that did that. That God tossed him to the depths of the sea. And the floods compassed me about, all thy billows and thy waves passed over me. And I said, I am cast down out of thy sight, yet will I look again toward the holy temple. Here he is in the fish's belly, and he knew where the holy temple was. It didn't say he's going to go and he says to the holy temple. What happens at the holy temple? Church. I'm going to get myself right. I'm going to get myself back in church. Why is it that people wait till they're in trouble before they start coming to church? Yeah. Why is it that they wait till they're in a place beyond any physical or human repair, that only can come from God and nowhere else? Why do they go so low before they go to church and ask for prayer, before they go and ask for help? Why is that? Because man is at the best state is altogether vanity, and all we are full of pride and full of our self-sufficiency. And you find someone who's so proud they can't pray, you find someone who's they're beyond themselves right there. Amen. Prayer is something that is necessary to everybody. And it says in verse number 4, and verse number 5, the waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains, and the earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought me up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. And this is why Jonah is quoted by Jesus Christ about going to hell for 3 days and 3 nights. Because of these verses. He says, I'm not going to see corruption. Verse number 7. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord. Why does it take so long for people's soul to faint within them? Why does it take so long for people to say, Lord, I give up? Verse number 9. But I will sacrifice unto thee with a voice of thanksgiving, and I will pay that which I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land. So he asked God, he says, okay, Lord, I'm going to give you praise and thanksgiving. I'll do it. God spits out the whale. He goes off, and God says, again, I'm telling you the second time now. Think about this. If God says one time, right? God said one time, and they didn't obey. What is up with these parents? 3, 4, I'm going to count to 35. All right, I've told you once, I've told you 100 times. Look, God disciplines his children even the first time. It may not be tossed into the sea and have a whale eat you up, but God does chastise us. God does spank us. Right. But sometimes we don't pick up on that. The level of our rebellion dictates the level of God's severity. God wanted Jonah to go and preach against Nineveh because Nineveh was corrupt, greedy, crooked, wicked. And he says, I have no part of it. I'm not doing it. I won't do it. And he took off running the opposite way. Look, my daughter, when she was growing up, I think she was like 6 months old. And she got mad and she arched her back. We're holding and she arched her back, and I was like, oh, no, you ain't. I took my hand, I got her in my hand, and I held her like here, and I spanked my hand up. I spanked her butt through my hand, and spanked it enough, but she was like, what's this? This has never happened before. I'm like, no, I spanked her butt through my hand, but it was enough to let her know, you're wrong, get yourself right. That's not going to happen. She arched her back on Crystal one time. Flopped herself back on the bed. It was crazy. Just arched her back. My wife spanked her one time. She never arched her back at us again. Never did. You have to look. What lengths does it take for God to spank? What lengths does it take for God to break our will? At what length does it take for God to break your will? Hey, you know this from child rearing. If you don't break that kid's will, you're gonna be at their will. Yeah. You've got to break that kid's will, not break their bones. I'm saying you have to break their will. Their spirit has to be broken. They have to know that you're the parent, right? That's what I learned from my daughter. But how much more does God have to break our will before we yield to Him? The storms we're in is that God is trying to break us and make us molded and to fit into His image and to do His will. And if we are arching our back and we're rejecting Him and we're stomping our feet, we're laying on the floor in the middle of Walmart, kicking our feet because we want a bouncy ball, how long do you think it's going to be before God casts us into the sea and has us swallowed up by a whale? Now, figuratively, of course. Figuratively. My daughter was over here today. We're going by Springfield Lake, and she's like, "Are there sharks in that water?" I'm like, "No." "Are there snakes in that water?" I'm like, "No, I don't think so." And he's like, "Are there?" And I said, "No, there's not any whales in that there either." And then she saw a bobcat. I said, "There's no bobcats in that water either." But she's like, she's afraid of what's in the water. She kind of wants to know what's in the water. But storms may cause for some people just to have a change of venues. God may take you out of this fire and put you into this fire. But the fact is, God's still trying to do something with you. And the fact that God is chastising you means you still have hope. As a believer, we're talking about believers here. You're a believer, God's going to chastise you. God's going to spank you. God's going to take you to task. How long is it going to be before you, out of the depths of your situation, look up unto God and say, "I'll give you the praise of thanksgiving, and I'll sacrifice the vows of obedience. I will do what you want me to do"?